Ever since humans first began to dream, there have been stories of mysterious other-dimensional beings that exert an unknown influence over our lives. These mysterious entities are often known as the Illuminati, and the concept of their control over our world has been circulating around in various forms since the Middle Ages. But what are these enigmatic creatures, and do they actually exist? The Illuminati are said to be a powerful and secretive race of beings that live in a parallel reality or dimension that go by many names, such as the spirit world, the astral plane, and the fourth dimension. It is suggested that this higher realm holds powerful knowledge and deep wisdom to ultimately control our world. The exact origin of the Illuminati is unknown. However, they have been described as an advanced race of extraterrestrial beings, supernatural deities, or interdimensional beings. They are believed to have the ability to both affect our thoughts and manipulate our reality. And some theories suggest they also have the power to create miracles and to witness events before they happen. The influence of the Illuminati can range from influencing the beliefs of an individual to controlling the fate of entire nations. In fact, the Freemasons and the New World Order are also under the influence of the Illuminati. These mysterious beings are responsible for the manipulation of world currencies and the instigation of wars. While most of the secrets of the Illuminati remain hidden from our view, they maintain an awe-inspiring and mighty power over our planet. They use this power to create massive changes in our world, and they are responsible for most of the great technological and societal advancements that have occurred throughout human history. From the advancements of science and technology to the creation of complex societies and cultures, the influence of the Illuminati has shaped our modern world. While there is certainly much debate surrounding the real existence of these mysterious creatures, one thing is certain: if they do exist, they are part of a powerful force that directly influences our past, present, and future, and their control over us is a constant evolving mystery. We are about to answer the most important questions surrounding these mysterious beings. What is the origin of the real other-dimensional beings that control humanity? The origin of the real other-dimensional beings that control humanity is a mystery. It is believed that they appeared on Earth in ancient times, before the dawn of recorded history. Some believe these beings have been manipulating and controlling humanity from the shadows throughout known history, while others believe they may have been in existence for much longer than that. There are several theories as to the origin of these beings. Some believe they are extra-dimensional, coming from a higher realm, while others allege they are interdimensional, traveling through overlapping realities. Still other theories suggest they may have come from the far reaches of space, or from a parallel universe. It is difficult to say for certain, but these mysterious entities have been described as having godlike powers and possessing the knowledge of witchcraft. There have even been reports of these beings transforming into giant dragons, shape-shifting, and having control over the elements. Whatever their place of origin, These powerful entities have been known to interfere in human affairs and have been responsible for shaping the course of our history. These beings pull the strings behind the scenes, directing events and manipulating governments and industries. There is much speculation as to whether they are a force of good or evil, and whether they are working for the greater good of humanity or against it. Regardless of their source, these other dimensional beings have been known to possess a certain mysterious and perhaps even mystical power, which has allowed them to covertly control humanity for thousands of years. They may hold the key to many of the mysteries of the world and of our past. Ultimately, only those with an intimate knowledge of them can truly answer the question of their origin. How long have these beings been exerting control over humanity? In recent years, there has been an increasing amount of discussion in the metaphysical and spiritual communities about the concept of other dimensions, extra-dimensional beings, and the possibility of them exerting control over humanity. A recent poll has suggested that 47% of Americans believe in the possibility of other dimensional life forms having an impact on our planet. Whether or not you believe this to be true, the subject of other dimensions has been studied for centuries, and there is evidence of various forms of extra-dimensional influence over humanity that span throughout human history. Take, for example, the demons of ancient mythology and religious texts. Throughout myriad cultures and historical periods, these demonic entities have been reported to possess individuals and to influence their thoughts and actions. These claims have often been dismissed as myth and superstition, but in reality, they may be evidence of extra-dimensional beings attempting to control humans. Another example is that of unidentified flying objects, which remain a hotly debated topic in modern society. Numerous reports from individuals across the globe detail encounters with mysterious, unknown objects flying in the sky. While many of these reports are assumed to be hoaxes or misunderstandings, a number of respected scientists have suggested the possibility that these sightings may be due to extra-dimensional visitors. This is a fascinating concept, particularly when considering the high number of sighting reports over the years. The subject of extra-dimensional beings is further complicated when we consider the existence of secret societies, secret technologies, and reports of alien abductions. While some of this may be nothing more than science fiction, there are many who earnestly believe that there are powerful secret organizations and technologies in existence that are manipulated by extra-dimensional entities. This could explain many of the strange occurrences that remain unexplained by science and reason. Do they control the Illuminati? There is no shortage of theories on the mysterious inner workings of the Illuminati, a clandestine society allegedly founded hundreds of years ago by a small group of individuals intent on controlling the world for their own purposes. What is less widely accepted is the idea that the Illuminati are really other dimensional beings that created the secret society we know today. It may sound like a crazy notion, but there is compelling evidence to suggest that this is indeed what is happening. First, it is important to address the nature of the Illuminati. While it is impossible to be certain of who exactly is a member of the organization today, what is known for certain is that the group has historically sought to achieve goals that benefit those in power and to exert control over the systems of government and corporations all over the world. This behavior is remarkably similar to that of a foreign power attempting to control a weaker nation, which perhaps makes it possible to think that those at the top of the Illuminati hierarchy are not of this world. Evidence of the involvement of other dimensional beings becomes even more clear when we consider the illusory techniques used by the Illuminati to achieve their goals. By using powerful imagery, symbols, and coded messages, Illuminati members have long aimed to cause people to think and act a certain way. Given the power of these techniques, it is quite reasonable to assume that the Illuminati have access to higher realms of knowledge and understanding that allow them to manipulate the minds of people here on Earth. The members of the Illuminati have also been suspected of using supernatural powers, such as summoning demons or using dark magic. Again, this is indicative of access to forces that exist outside of our physical world and is evidence of involvement from other dimensional beings. Finally, it is difficult to ignore the sheer amount of power and influence that the Illuminati have been able to accumulate over the centuries. Given that this organization is believed to be comprised of only a few dozen members, it is clear that they have access to unimaginable amounts of wealth, resources, and connections, powers that are far beyond the reach of any normal human being. This indicates the involvement of a higher power and is further evidence that other dimensional entities are behind the Illuminati and its activities. It is not an easy conclusion to come to, but it is evident that the mysterious organization known as the Illuminati is in fact controlled by other dimensional beings. Through their use of dark magic, symbolic imagery, and manipulation of the minds of the masses, the Illuminati has achieved an enormous amount of power and influence. Furthermore, their immense wealth and access to resources beyond the reach of any true human being serves as indisputable evidence of the involvement of other dimensional entities. For these reasons, it is hard to deny the notion that they are, in fact, beings from another world. Who do these other dimensional beings answer to? It is an intriguing question, and one that has plagued the minds of many since the dawn of time. There are various theories about who might be controlling humanity, from extraterrestrials to angels, demons, and entities from other planes of existence. The most widely accepted answer, however, is that these entities are ultimately answerable to some higher power or force. This could be any number of things, depending on the individual's beliefs, ranging from deities in a variety of religions to a higher order of consciousness. In essence, the idea is that beings from other planes of existence have been manipulating the course of human affairs since the dawn of time. This could include events on an individual or collective level. The belief is that this unseen force allows them to influence our lives in some way. This may include energy manipulation, mind control, or even influencing human events with their powerful telepathy. The idea is that they are responsible for the whispers in our ear that drive us to make certain choices and decisions. It is also possible that the beings from other planes of existence have been granted special powers by higher forces, such as the ability to manipulate fate or control the weather. It is believed that they use these powers in order to control humanity for whatever reason, although exactly what their ultimate goal is remains a mystery. The belief in other dimensional beings controlling humanity has long been part of various spiritual traditions and religious beliefs. The idea is that these entities are ultimately answerable to a higher power, but exactly who that power is depends on the individual's beliefs. It could be any number of things, ranging from a deity or group of deities, an all-knowing being, or a higher order of consciousness. In the end, the answer to the question of who is controlling humanity through other dimensional beings comes down to personal beliefs. Some believe in extraterrestrials, some believe in angels or demons, and some believe in a higher power or force. Whatever the case may be, one thing is for sure. These beings are believed to be answerable to a higher power in some way. Are they malevolent or benevolent? Starting from the ancient myths, legends, and folklore, other dimensional beings were often portrayed as deities or spirits with either good or bad intentions. One of the more popular ideas is that of the Fae or fairies, which are described as small, mischievous sprites that can both aid or bedevil humans depending on their favor or whims. Similarly, Christian beliefs depict otherworldly beings as either devils or angels, with potentially helpful or harmful consequences, from helping people find the right path to cursing them with misfortune. Modern interpretations of other dimensional beings often describe them as civilizations either from within our own universe or from completely separate realms. Some popular media, such as the Star Trek and Doctor Who franchises, portray them as both violent and benevolent entities that could either help or hinder humanity. Even in gaming and entertainment, the idea of these beings has become a recurring theme, from the creatures interacting with our world in the Elder Scrolls series to hostile aliens in the Alien franchise. Much of the debate over these entities remains unresolved. Supporters of the benevolent being theory argue that these entities can bring knowledge, insight, new technology, and even enlightenment to us, while those following the malevolent being school of thought believe they are here to cause mischief and chaos. Moreover, the debate is also split over whether other dimensional beings are here to purposefully shape our landscape and destinies, or if they simply offer us occasional contact and assistance. However, neither argument can be fully confirmed or rejected without further scientific study and research. In summary, whether other dimensional beings on Earth are malevolent or benevolent is still up for debate. While the argument is unresolvable without more concrete evidence, many myths, artifacts, and works of fiction suggest that such entities can be both harmful and helpful in their own ways. It is up to further research to shed light on their real intentions and place in our universe. Are the intentions of the other dimensional beings protecting humanity or manipulating it? The answer to this question largely depends on who you ask, with some believing that the beings in question are here to guide and protect humanity, while others are skeptical of the acts of these non-human entities. Theories about the intentions of other dimensional beings usually fall into two distinct camps. Those who believe that the beings are here to protect humanity typically cite instances in which these beings intervened in human affairs and ultimately resulted in the betterment of humanity, such as when they provided guidance and assistance to religious leaders in the past. Proponents of this view believe that the relationship between humanity and the other dimensional beings is one of mutual benefit, and that the being's support of humans is evidence of their positive intentions. On the other hand, those who believe that other dimensional beings are manipulating humanity for some unseen purpose usually cite examples in which these beings have been observed carrying out activities that contradict their professed desire to protect humans. These include instances in which the beings have been observed assisting in the development of various technologies or innovations that have had negative impacts on human societies, such as the development of nuclear weapons. This, combined with a lack of clear evidence of these beings actually intervening to prevent human suffering, has prompted many to question the true motives behind the activities of these entities. Ultimately, the answer to the question of whether or not other dimensional beings are protecting humanity or manipulating it remains largely up to interpretation. For some, the actions of these entities over the centuries have been mostly beneficial to humanity, and thus evidence of their benevolent intentions. Meanwhile, many others remain skeptical of these motivations, feeling uncertain as to the extent of these beings' influence and unclear as to their true intentions. What kind of influence do they exert over humanity? Much of the mystery surrounding other dimensional beings can be traced to their origin. Are they the product of an intelligent creator, or the byproduct of some cosmic process? Debate exists over this question, but one thing remains certain. Other dimensional beings have a deep and long-standing influence on human civilization. The concept of higher dimensional beings can be traced to ancient religious mythologies, which often featured gods or angels with great powers that could be wielded for good or ill. While the exact nature of these entities is often in dispute, some common beliefs about their influence on humanity remain. For starters, it is widely accepted that they often interact with other beings in other realms, providing insight and advice on matters of importance to humanity. Additionally, there is a belief that other dimensional beings can offer protection and guidance to those who seek it. Finally, many believe that other dimensional beings have a deep spiritual connection with humanity, having a hand in shaping our evolution. In more recent years, interest in other dimensional beings has grown significantly. With the rise in popularity of alternative spiritual practices such as channeling and mediumship, more people than ever before are exploring and exposing themselves to the possible influence of extra-dimensional entities. Reports of interdimensional contact have become common in mainstream media, and some believe that these encounters have had a profound effect on humanity. How do these other dimensional beings gain power over humanity? One of the most common ways that these other dimensional beings are said to gain power over humanity is through psychic manipulation and possession. When these spirits are able to tap into our thoughts and feelings, they can lead us down paths that we may not necessarily agree with or even be aware of, leading us to make decisions that ultimately benefit them. This type of manipulation has been seen in numerous stories and films. In Stephen King's horror classic, The Shining, for example, an evil spirit possesses the mind of the protagonist and uses it to manipulate his family to commit horrible acts in its name. Another way that these other dimensional beings are said to gain power over humanity is through magic and ritual. In many ancient cultures, rituals were performed to evoke and seek favor from these mysterious entities. By performing an offering or vow in exchange for divine assistance, these rituals would supposedly allow the beings to gain enough power to influence fate and the future. This form of invoking otherworldly entities is still seen today, with some individuals and organizations engaging in ritualistic expressions of power and influence. Finally, another way that these other dimensional beings are said to gain power over humanity is through divination. It's believed that by consulting with certain spiritual beings, one can gain insight and understanding of the future. This type of prophetic power is often sought after by those looking to gain knowledge about what lies ahead. By utilizing such methods, these other dimensional beings may be able to shape and manipulate the future of humanity in an effort to gain more power. To summarize, it is thought that other dimensional beings gain power over humanity in numerous ways, including through psychic manipulation, ritualistic offerings, and divination. Whether these claims are true or not remains to be seen, but these methods are all purported to be ways in which other dimensional beings can gain power over us. Are these beings operating alone, or do they have allies? Our universe is teeming with life. So too are those of alternative planes in the cosmos. These planes support life forms that are unique to their respective realm, and only certain individuals, using advanced technology, are capable of crossing the boundaries between them. Indeed, evidence exists to suggest that these entities may have existing allies. Across the world, there have been documented cases of anomalous aerial existences known as fairy sightings, which are thought to be attributed to other dimensional travelers journeying between realms. Furthermore, cultures dating back centuries reference mysterious entities in their folklore, with documented names such as Little People, Mound Dwellers, and even elves. It is from such reports that lead us to speculate that these creatures do exist and may hold alliances between themselves and perhaps even with us. Do these other dimensional beings ever appear in the physical realm? Now, with advances in physics, mathematics, and technology, we are beginning to understand the possibilities of multiple realities. The question then arises, do other dimensional realms exist, and do they ever appear in our physical realm? To answer this question, we must first examine how we perceive and interact with our world. According to the laws of physics, everything that can exist must exist in either three-dimensional space or four-dimensional space-time. Considering that we live in a 3D environment, it is logical to assume that any other realms that might exist must also include either 3D or 4D elements. In fact, math and physics suggest that more than one additional dimension could potentially exist, each with its own unique equations and laws of nature. Beyond a theoretical understanding, one must also consider whether these unseen dimensions manifest themselves in our physical reality. In recent years, scientists have proposed the idea of superstrings, or extra-dimensional entities that exist in the vibrational space between our known dimensions. This concept offers an exciting possibility that other realms may be present in our reality, but are far too faint or small to interact with our physical senses. In fact, other dimensions and realms are indeed accessible from within our three-dimensional universe. Entire fields of study, such as quantum mechanics and string theory, are devoted to uncovering evidence of other dimensional planes. For example, some physicists now believe that subatomic particles are able to wander in and out of unseen realms, only to re-emerge in our own. Likewise, wormholes are believed to act as tunnels or passages to alternate universes. Others propose that dimensional planes exist in a form of parallel reality to our own. By this conception, multiple universes exist side by side, each with its own version of reality, history, and even physics. While this concept seems far-fetched, evidence suggests that at least partial overlap may exist between our reality and others. One must also consider the possibility that other planes of existence have interacted with our own in the past and may still do so today. Stories of alien abductions and otherworldly encounters have flooded popular culture for centuries, showing that these encounters have more basis in truth than fiction. Similarly, spiritualists and paranormal investigators claim the existence of other realms or entities not native to our world. While we may never be able to prove any definitive answer, theories and speculations suggest that intriguing possibility of a multiverse where anything is possible. Time will tell if the door to such wonders can ever be opened. Are the physical effects of their control measurable? The main argument surrounding the potential for measurable control of other dimensional beings is that it may be possible to detect their effects on our physical realm in some way. This could be in the form of physical changes, such as changes in physical laws or the structure of space-time. Or it could be through indirect effects, such as spiritual healing or paranormal activity. Some believe that their control can be detected in various ways, such as through spiritual readings or the use of electromagnetic sensors. Others argue that their control over our world could never be measured, as it would be impossible to quantify the effects of such a power, and that the only way to detect their presence would be through belief and faith. However, there is also evidence that suggests that the physical effects of other dimensional beings can be measured. It has been argued that certain technology, such as crystal technology, has been able to detect certain subtle energies generated by these beings. Additionally, certain types of spiritual healing have been able to produce measurable effects on both the body and the environment around it. This suggests that it may be possible to measure the physical effects of other dimensional beings, although there have yet to be any conclusive studies conducted on the topic. Does this other dimensional control have an effect on our perception of reality? Reality is a multi-dimensional concept that can be difficult to define and even harder to quantify. From the philosophical perspective, reality is largely a subjective experience, shaped by our individual histories, experiences, and beliefs. This is why two people might see the same thing in two completely different ways, leading to radically different interpretations or perspectives. Even so, many people believe that our perception of reality is influenced by forces beyond our control. In particular, many believe that another dimension or force may be actively controlling our reality and influencing our perceptions. In fact, the idea that there is an unseen force that influences our realities has been discussed for centuries. In ancient Greece, for example, the concept of the matrix was posited by Plato, who suggested that our physical world is merely an illusion and that a higher plane exists beyond our senses. Fast forward to the present day, and the debate continues among theologians, physicists, and philosophers regarding the influence of other dimensional control on our perception of reality. Proponents of the other dimensional control theory posit that our reality is shaped by an unseen higher dimensional force. This force, or intelligence, works to influence our thoughts, feelings, and actions, all with the ultimate goal of shaping our reality to its liking. According to this line of thinking, the choices we make are not always our own. Instead, they are often guided by an unseen force, which adjusts our outlook on life and the world around us. Do these other dimensional beings have their own agenda? It is possible that they may have a good agenda, with aims and objectives to help mankind in some form or another. We could certainly embrace this concept and fantasize about the idea that the physical realm is enhanced and overall improved by their influence. On the other hand, it is possible that these EDBs may have a more devious agenda, an evil agenda. Here, we could envisage a scenario whereby they perpetuate chaos and strife across the physical realm, seeking to take advantage of our potential ignorance and vulnerability. It has been suggested by some that these beings work in the shadows, influencing our world in ways that we are not even aware of or cannot comprehend. This could involve indoctrination and manipulation of human beings, using secret powers or abilities to exert influence over those in positions of power in business, politics, and other areas of society. There are all sorts of evil possibilities. Other theories suggest that more direct forms of evil workings are observed. It is theorized that these beings may actively seek physical interaction with us, performing lawless acts or engulfing us in any number of different delusions. Examples could range from tapping into our minds and creating imaginary scenarios, to holding us hostage and using telekinesis to control our environment. If they do have an agenda, it appears that this agenda may not be one with humanity's best interests in mind. It is possible that these entities may be actively seeking to deceive and manipulate us instead of helping us. We may never be sure of the true natures of EDBs and their intentions, but the possibility of them having a more sinister agenda could certainly be considered. Are there any particular symbols or objects associated with the presence of these other dimensional beings? The first and most obvious symbol associated with the presence of other dimensional beings is a triangle. A triangle is often used to represent the three aspects of spirit, mind, and body, as well as the spiritual trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It is also believed to represent the three dimensions or planes of existence, each of which could potentially hold a different being. A popular theory is that the triangle is a symbolic gateway that allows these other dimensional beings a way to enter our realm of reality. Another symbol which is commonly associated with other dimensional beings is a spiral. Spirals represent many things, but most notably, they represent creation and evolution. It is believed that the spiral can be used to create a channel or portal through which these other dimensional beings can potentially enter our realm. The third and final symbol associated with other dimensional beings is a pentacle. A pentacle is a five-pointed star, often seen as a symbol of protection and beckoning for good luck. It is believed to represent the five physical laws of the universe and is seen as a gateway between this physical plane and other higher planes of existence. So, what do these symbols and objects signify? They represent the presence of other dimensional beings that exist in our universe. These symbols are associated with spiritual protection and growth, and signify a connection between our physical plane and planes that exist in other dimensions. Understanding the power and significance of these symbols or objects is the key to understanding the spiritual realms that exist beyond our everyday perception. In conclusion, the symbols or objects that are associated with the presence of other dimensional beings offer insight into the spiritual realms that exist beyond what our senses can perceive. By understanding the power and significance of these symbols, we can gain a deeper understanding of the spiritual planes of existence. Are there any particular spiritual practices or techniques that are helpful in countering their influence? One of the most common approaches involves meditation. Through a combination of relaxation, visualization, and contemplation, it is believed that one can develop a greater sense of connection with the divine and ultimately strengthen the spiritual armor which protects us from external influences. Most Buddhists and Hindu practitioners regularly use meditation in their spiritual practice in order to open themselves up to spiritual guidance from higher dimensions, which can protect them from dangerous forces. Another popular spiritual technique is the use of mantras. A mantra is a specific set of words which are either repeated aloud or silently, often to aid in achieving a desired state of consciousness or creating positive energy. By focusing on the words of a mantra, one can become more aware of subtle energies which may be surrounding them and create a stronger barrier between themselves and any external negative influences. Finally, one important technique that is often used by spiritual practitioners is the practice of honoring one's ancestors. Ancestor veneration is an ancient practice which is still used by many cultures around the world to honor the spirits of those who have gone before us. Honoring our ancestors helps create a bond between the spiritual and physical worlds, allowing us to call upon their protection against outside forces which may be causing difficulty or distress. It is clear that many of the spiritual practices and techniques can be used to provide some protection against their powerful influence. Through meditation, mantras, and honoring our ancestors, we can create a stronger connection to the divine and ultimately empower ourselves against the shadowy forces which may be working to undermine our well-being. Thus, these spiritual practices are invaluable to combat any potential interference from other dimensional beings. Are there any physical or spiritual artifacts that are able to block or inhibit the influence of these other dimensional beings? One of the theories is that certain physical and spiritual artifacts can be used in conjunction with a certain type of energy in order to block the influence of these beings. This energy can come in the form of protection spells, seals, or charms, and it is believed that certain artifacts are specifically designed to protect one from such entities. Moreover, it is believed that certain gemstones, crystals, herbs, and plants possess properties that can be used effectively to ward off the influence of other dimensional beings. In addition to physical artifacts, spiritual beings such as angels and archangels are believed to be able to protect a person from the influence of those other dimensional beings. Angels are said to be endowed with the power to help humans by shielding them from threats from all directions, including the paranormal. The archangels are also said to be powerful protectors and can help make a person's spiritual environment more resistant to the influences of any unwanted spiritual forces. Finally, some claim that meditation can be a very effective tool in blocking the influence of any other dimensional beings. Through meditation, an individual can not only relax and unwind, but can also send out vibrations to establish a strong barrier against anyone who wishes to interfere with them spiritually. Over thousands of years, these entities have caused much strife on planet Earth, and defending against them is crucial. It is no secret that war has been a part of humanity's history for as long as it goes. Throughout the course of history, there have been countless conflicts, wars, and struggles, some even reaching epic proportions. While much of the blame usually goes to the human politician or particular group of individuals in charge, many have suggested that the war itself may be the work of something else, something beyond our realm of understanding, something from a world beyond our own. Could it be possible that other dimensional beings or spirits have been responsible for the wars and strife on Earth for thousands of years? The ancient Sumerians were among the first people to suggest this idea, referring to these mysterious entities as the Anunnaki. According to Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki were powerful otherworldly beings that had their own hidden agendas and were at times responsible for conflicts on Earth. While this idea may be hard to prove scientifically, there is much evidence to support that these beings may exist and have influenced humans in various ways. One key piece of evidence is found in the ancient texts of many cultures. Often these texts contain accounts of otherworldly entities that influence events and humans around them. Sometimes they appear as gods, sometimes as devils, but in general, they often appear as divine forces that can control the fate of humanity. Another piece of evidence can be seen in some of the well-known events throughout history. Many of these events are too great to be coincidence and are caused by otherworldly forces. For example, the fall of the great civilizations such as Egypt, the collapse of the Roman Empire, and the fall of the ancient Mayans. While it is impossible to point to any one entity as being responsible for all of these events, they were caused by something from outside our realm of understanding. Finally, there is the matter of the mysterious force that many of us have felt in moments of extreme distress, such as war, natural disasters, or any other major event. This force has been described in literature and other areas of culture as a feeling of being watched or controlled by something that isn't human. Many people throughout history have appealed to these forces for help. They exist and are something from beyond this world. They are responsible for the strife and suffering on Earth. War has been a part of our history for far too long, and something beyond our realm of understanding is at least partially to blame. If we are to learn from our mistakes and build a more peaceful world, it is important to acknowledge the possibility that something from beyond our world is influencing us, and to take steps to avoid giving into their influence. This often evil influence has been given many names, and one of those is demon. The concept of a demon has existed for centuries, and beliefs about what these beings are, where they come from, and why they may be causing suffering for mankind are widely varied, each culture having their own unique understanding. Despite these differences, one thing remains clear. Demons are commonly regarded as malevolent forces that are capable of bringing great harm to people. Many religious texts from around the world depict demons as malevolent forces of evil, using their powers to wreak havoc and disrupt the lives of humans. In the Bible, for example, demons are often portrayed as causing disruption, fear, and confusion, and as having been responsible for instigating the fall of man. Perhaps the most famous example is Lucifer, the light-bearer, who was associated with pride and arrogance and ultimately banished from heaven for his defiance of God. In Daniel 10, there is an anecdote about a demonic prince named the Prince of Persia. This being is responsible for preventing an angel from delivering a message to the prophet Daniel, confirming the faithfulness of God's chosen people in their service to this Almighty Lord. In the New Testament, demons are depicted as the enemies of God and Christianity. We read of Jesus casting out demons from people in the name of God. The Gospels of Matthew and Luke tell of Jesus' encounter with two men possessed by a legion of demons. After Jesus cast out the demons, they fled into a herd of pigs and caused them to drown. The Bible also mentions demons in other contexts. We find references to them in the Old Testament, when they were presented as the spirits of former unrighteous kings, such as King Saul. In the New Testament, we see them as personifications of the Antichrist, the spiritual enemy of Jesus. In the book of Revelations, demons are said to be minions of Satan, the highest ranked among them being four powerful angels called the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. It's obvious that the Bible contains many passages that feature demonic characters in various contexts. While the exact nature of these entities remains a mystery, it's clear that the Bible paints them as powerful supernatural figures that represent evil in one form or another. We can only hope that the Bible's depiction of demons continues to remain a cautionary tale for all believers, and a warning against evil forces from within and without. Similarly, the Quran refers to them as jinn, or powerful beings of smokeless fire, that may cause harm to humans. In Hinduism, demons are seen as arrogant and dangerous forces that attempt to upset the balance of the world. All of these religious sources paint a troubling picture of the nature of demons as malevolent and dangerous forces that are intent on causing suffering. History is filled with stories of demons causing physical and psychological harm to human beings. Witches have been accused of using demonic magic for centuries, and tales of people being possessed by evil spirits are common throughout the world. Even today, people still report observing strange and inexplicable occurrences in their homes that are often attributed to demonic forces. These experiences suggest that something does indeed exist outside of our natural realm, something that can cause great harm to those who encounter it. Modern science and technology have allowed us to explore spiritual and metaphysical realities that were previously undiscovered. Many paranormal investigators have reported encounters with evil entities that exhibit all of the characteristics of demonic forces, including physical manifestations such as intense coldness in the room or the smell of sulfur. In these situations, the investigators often concluded that an evil force was present and actively attempting to cause harm. Even those who do not believe in the existence of demons may still acknowledge their potential for causing suffering. Mental illness, addiction, and other forms of psychological distress often have their roots in unknown or supernatural forces. Toxic relationships, too, can sometimes be the result of a demonic entity seeking to gain control and manipulate those involved. While none of these occurrences can be definitively linked to demons, they certainly suggest the possibility of malevolent supernatural forces at play. There is a large body of evidence that suggests that demonic forces do indeed exist and are capable of causing harm to humanity. From religious texts to modern experiences, the evidence suggests that demons are indeed malevolent entities and are responsible for much of the suffering experienced by mankind. It is clear, then, that we must remain vigilant and guard against these evil forces so that we may avoid becoming victims of their actions. As humans, it may be difficult to comprehend that another dimensional being exists and that they may be the cause of so many extraordinary events that seem to be beyond our control. Nevertheless, the evidence is there that suggests these entities are indeed real and powerful. They created the Illuminati, a secret society made up of the world's elite, who scheme and manipulate for their own evil purposes. Through their influence, they control global business, politics, religion, and the media, thus controlling our thoughts and actions. It is also believed that this powerful group is furthering their agenda by controlling populations through advanced technology and mind control techniques. Many of the effects of their activities certainly can be observed in the news. Furthermore, persuasive evidence remains that some of the most dire events in human history were entirely orchestrated by this strange force. Many of the war, pestilence, famine, and economic depressions that have plagued humanity in the past are attributed to the Illuminati. For many, these thoughts are simply too inconceivable to attempt as fact, and so the conclusion that these dark forces do exist remains a controversial one. At the very least, it is wise to remain vigilant and watchful of the events happening around us. as these entities are often hidden in plain sight among us. As a society, we should strive to be aware of potential dark forces and use our knowledge and understanding to protect ourselves and the future of humanity. Other dimensional beings do exist, created the Illuminati, openly control our thoughts and actions, and are ultimately evil, for their own gain rather than ours.